Your host, Chef AJ, and this is where I introduce you to amazing people just like you who are doing great things in the world that I think you should know about. As often happens with this show, today's guest is a result of another guest. Not exactly, she's actually the wife of a guest that we had last week, a wonderful doctor named Dr. Rajiv Misquitta, and together they co-wrote this book called Healthy Heart, Healthy Planet. Their website is of the same name, and Cathi is here going to demonstrate some fabulous recipes of Indian street food. You guys requested Indian food. We listened, and now we have an expert in it. So please welcome to the show, Cathi Misquitta. Thank you so much for being here.
Hey, thank you, Chef AJ. How are you?
Well, great. And I know, you're a busy person. People think like, you have to just sit around all day to be able to eat plant-based. You are a full-time working person, a full-time mother, and yet you still have time to eat healthy and feed your family healthy.
Yeah, and I'm so glad you actually mentioned that, Chef AJ. It's crazy. I'm an executive at a health plan right now, and we live in Northern California. And many of you know, not only do we have the craziness of COVID-19 and everyone working remotely and trying to manage all that, we've got the wildfires going on right now. I'm currently delegating someone else to be in a business continuity plan meeting because we've got some people who've been evacuated. So talk about juggling things outside of just the pharmacy realm. There's so much going on that when I come home from work, I have to have something that's quick and simple. And that was really the whole purpose and the premise of the book that Raj and I put together. Frankly, I don't have hours to come home after work to make dinner. And a lot of the plant-based cookbooks that we had been evaluating, you're really focusing on that low fat, no oil added, plant-based meals. Sometimes I needed to make 3 different recipes to get one item on the table. And I really wanted something that was simple. So most of the recipes in our book have like 4 things: a starch, some kind of legume, some kind of vegetable, and some kind of flavor. It's pretty simple.
I love it. That's really all you need. Lately I've been posting on Instagram my simple daily meals, and people are like, really? Like you can have corn and a potato for dinner? I'm like, yeah, and a salad. Yes, you can. You can actually eat food for dinner.
I love it. And I think, so I had 2 dishes that I was going to plan making today. One is chaat, and it's, I call it Indian potato salad, right? It is basically a potato dish. My husband told me it was street food. It's kind of a sweet and sour, so completely different than what you would think of as a traditional potato salad, but it's got everything in it, so it can be a complete meal. And the other thing that I'm doing, again, because it's been very hot here in triple-digit heat, is, so that's a salad, but it's definitely a full meal. The other is a sushi salad, so it's rice-based. And one of the things that I did to prepare for our show today was I prepared the potatoes and the rice in advance using my solar cooker because I didn't want to heat up my kitchen.
What's a solar cooker?
And I should bring it out here. So there is a company, it's a non-for-profit here in Sacramento, actually, called Solar Cookers International. And when I purchased my solar cooker from them 20 years ago, maybe, they were, and they may still do this, I'm not sure, I should have looked. They would donate another one to a third world country or a developing country where fuel was scarce and people needed a way to pasteurize water. It is essentially a cardboard box that is coated with silvery lining on the inside that you kind of fold up around a black metal Dutch oven, and you wrap that Dutch oven in a baking bag. Like I know my mom always cooked turkeys for Thanksgiving in one of those baking bags, and you sit it in the sun and set it and forget it until everything is cooked. Pretty cool.
That is really cool. I'd love to learn more about that.
Okay, I will bring it out later. So would you like me to get started cooking?
Absolutely. And feel free to tell as much of your story as you like. I know that some of it's in your book, which you, by the way, signed for me, believe it or not, 6 years ago. That's how long it's taken me to get to you. I apologize.
Oh, no worries. Well, I'm sure you heard my husband's story. So as we get started, I'll start chopping up the potatoes for the chaat. So here's what happened. And it was now, well, I'll never forget the date when Raj had his heart attack. It was 3 days before my older son's 4th birthday. So he was not yet 4. And I was working from home that day, and I got a call from Rajiv as I'm working, and it was about 8:15 in the morning. And he says, I'm in the emergency room. And I said, what are you doing in the emergency room? Because he works in the clinic. He doesn't go into the emergency room. He wasn't admitting patients. And I was very confused. And he said, I had chest pain. So of course, he was 40 years old. So my initial reaction was, you need to start drinking less coffee, sweetheart, right? What's going on? How could you possibly have chest pain? It must be reflux. And he says, well, actually there were ischemic changes on the EKG. So ischemia means lack of blood flow. And basically he was having a heart attack. And I was sitting there trying to do my work and process this whole idea of my 40-year-old husband is calling me from the emergency room having a heart attack. And I said, do you need me to come down there? Because I couldn't quite process the fact that he was having a heart attack. And he says, yeah, I think that'd be a good idea. I said, oh, okay, let me change some things around in my schedule today and I'll come down there. So I did. It really didn't hit me. You know, I came in, I saw him, he was hooked up to IVs, the EKG, you know, nurses, doctors all around. Honestly, didn't hit me how severe and serious the situation was until I called my mom and I said, can you pick the kids up from daycare today? Because I have to go with my husband to another hospital to get a cath so that we could look at, you know, the doctors could look at his coronary arteries and see what was going on. And that's when I started to cry. I couldn't believe it. So of course my mom was kind, gracious, jumped in the car, took care of the kids for the rest of the day. Raj ended up so we went to the first hospital and they did the cath and they found 100% blockage in his left anterior descending coronary artery. So basically one of the main arteries that feeds the part of the heart that is going to pump the blood to the rest of the body. And it had opened up to a little bit of a trickle just based on some of the aspirin that they had given him. And they said he's going to have to go to yet another hospital to have some stents placed in that artery. So, all right, we went to the next hospital. He had another cath procedure and they placed 2 stents. And talk about a scary situation. So he's in the hospital now waiting for the, you know, just to be observed and wait for the bleeding to stop because, you know, they feed this big catheter up through the artery in the groin, the femoral artery, and it's not stopping. His mom came up to also help with the kids. And I was home and then I get a call from him and he's spiking a fever. And of course, you know, with my background in pharmacy and having worked in the hospitals, that concerned me because nosocomial infections or infections that happen as a result of being in the hospital, I was really concerned that he might turn south. And fortunately, he was okay. So that's the first part of the story, right? All right, so I'll put the story on pause. I just finished chopping up all the potatoes. Obviously, I'm a kitchen cook. I'm not a professional chef, so knife skills are what they are. So the next thing I'm going to throw in here, and everything just goes into the pot, the bowl, basically. So I've got cooked potatoes. Somewhere in my drawer here, I have my handy dandy can opener. So this is a can of garbanzo beans. So I'm going to open that up, drain it, and put the garbanzo beans in here. And then I will move on to the mangoes and show you how my mother-in-law taught me how to cut open mangoes.
My mother taught me to go to Costco and buy it already cut.
Ah, see, that's even better. That's even better. So I didn't know, I had no idea how to cut a mango because it's not something I ate growing up. All right, so here's what she told me to do. On one side of the pit, make a nice slice. On the other side of the pit, make a nice slice, and then score it little crosshatch marks like this. And then we'll just scoop it out with a spoon. And she told me when Raj was a little boy and they were living in Goa, which is a tiny area in, sorry, I'm going to grab a spoon here that I did not get out in advance. So this area in Goa where they lived, they had tons and tons of mango trees. And his mom loves to tell me how Raj, as a little boy, would sneak in and get the mangoes and start eating them and get juice all over the place. And to this day, he still eats the mangoes the same way. It's an absolute mess. But he thoroughly enjoys it. Anyway, interesting thing about Goa, for those of you who don't know, it was a Portuguese colony. So my mother-in-law's first language is actually Portuguese.
Where did you guys meet?
Well, so Raj emigrated when he was 14 and they lived in New York. So we didn't meet until he was a resident and I was a resident at UC Davis Medical Center. So that's the clean, like nice family version of how we met. But what I really love, because it is kind of funny and it is kind of true, we met in a bar. And how many people actually meet in a bar nowadays? So we had mutual friends, and it turned out that one of my friends was having a bachelorette party, so we all went out dancing, and we knew this guy, and so we said, oh, all of us girls are going out dancing, and he says, well, I have some friends, and we can come out dancing and meet you. And so I ended up meeting him at a dance club.
Oh, well, because I'm sure other people want to know where to meet nice vegan doctors. So I guess that's the answer, ladies. Bars, but all the bars are closed now. So
I know. So you're out of luck. And true. So, and we weren't vegan back then, right? We were regular, standard American diet. It wasn't until Raj had his heart attack that everything changed. So I guess I could get back to my story now. So he ends up having the 2 stents placed and all works out fine. He comes home and says, all right, that's it. Things have to change. We're going to change the diet. And I said, that's fine, no problem. And we had actually played with being vegetarian several years prior to that and didn't really stick. But we did it for a while. And so fortunately, I would say this is the one good thing about Raj is that he is very open to trying new things and doing new things like that. So all right, so he starts doing some research. His first research was, of course, the Mediterranean diet, right? Fish, and we didn't eat any chicken or anything like that, focusing on, you know, the healthy fats with nuts, things like, and a few months go by, and seems to be doing fairly well up until, you know, that third month or so into this whole post-recovery business. And one day we were supposed to go visit his brother in the Bay Area. And he says, you know, why don't you just take the kids and go without me? I don't think I'm feeling very well. And he hadn't been feeling well for a couple of days, but it seemed to me like it was getting worse. And I said, if you're really not feeling well enough to go to see your brother, maybe you need to go to the hospital. So actually we did. We decided he should. And we didn't go to visit his brother that day exactly, although his brother was kind enough to take the kids for me for the day so that I could be with Raj. And he actually called the cardiologist that he wanted to do his stent from the ambulance and had him meet him there at the hospital. So he was rushed in, had a cath, and his cardiologist said, you know, you've got really diffuse disease. It looks like you're going to need 5-way bypass. So, of course, the decision was made for Raj to undergo that very intensive surgery. Couldn't be done right away because he had blood thinners, we call it, in his bloodstreams that had to be kind of worked out before he could actually undergo the procedure. So Then, it was quite an arduous recovery from the bypass surgery. I would say he spent two months at home really getting over it. And it's not funny exactly, but young men who have heart attacks and undergo that surgery have a really hard time with the recovery, more so than some of the older patients. And when Raj was in the recovery unit, there were older gentlemen who had undergone the same thing he had, who were kind of lapping him around the unit doing all of his rehab. So he had a hard time, and he said, all right, now we really need to figure something else out. So that's when he started reading the books by Ornish and Esselstyn, and cutting out everything that was remotely plant-based, remotely animal-based, and had any added fat or oil in it at all. And so that's when I really started doing the research and figuring out what could I do to help him. What kind of foods could we make? And just, we were using community supported agriculture at the time. So we had our box of goodies that we would get delivered to the house on a weekly basis. And so I was trying to be creative with the new vegetables that they were sending. And finally I just said, you know what? I think I need to write a book so somebody else can do this. So that was pretty much the inspiration for it, but all of it was driven by Raj and his health and my desire to keep him healthy so he could be there for his children, right?
Mm. Was it difficult to get the kids on board? How old were the kids at the time that you changed the diet?
The kids were very small, and the kids don't follow it as like we would like them to. So I have to admit that they're really not as on board as I would love them to be.
Have they seen game changers?
Yes, what can I say? My kids are a little on the stubborn side.
Are they boys or girls?
They're both boys. So Callister is 15 and just got his driver's permit, and Griffin is 13. They're both smart guys, very active, lots of fun. I honestly cannot imagine life without them. Yeah, but their diet needs some improvement. We get into fights over me trying to get them to eat salads.
What's their resistance?
Oh, they like cheese on pizza. There's just stuff they have a hard time letting go of.
But they have such great substitutes now, vegan cheeses and vegan pizzas. And
yeah, that's true. I will say we don't use the vegan cheeses in my house because Raj doesn't eat that, right? It's got a lot of extra fat. So our diet, I think, is maybe more restrictive. So you're right, the boys, and then we'll do things like the vegan chicken nuggets and stuff like that. They don't give me any hard time about that. So,
that's good.
And they eat soy sausage. So there's a lot that they will do, but it's not everything. All right, so there's the celery. And the next thing going in there will be some red onion, which I've got.
Do you do any kind of batch cooking, Cathi? Because I know you're busy working and being a mom and everything.
I will, especially if I'm doing something like if I'm using dried beans at all, I will definitely do some batch cooking with that because that is, very time consuming. I really try to take advantage of things that make my life easier, like just using a rice cooker instead of standing over the stove to make rice or things like that. I love my gadgets. I have an Instapot to make things quickly, which is fabulous for dal, which is a traditional Indian food, basically split pea soup, but with a different flavor to it. So I love using stuff like that.
In general, aren't Indian people vegetarian?
Ooh, well, they definitely don't eat. If they're Hindu, cows are off limits. But if you go to an Indian restaurant, you'll find a lot of other meats available and a lot of chicken. But yes, it's not uncommon. And I think, and this is another thing that's really great about Raj, she loves food from all over the world. And so I think that does make it a little easier to be vegetarian, to be able to have that wide open palate. We love all kinds of foods, but yes, dal and rice, sambar, which is also a lentil based like stew that you eat with things like idlis, which are made from rice and lentils. They're little puffy, spongy, almost like a cake, but not sweet at all, and things like that. So there are a lot of different vegetarian Indian dishes that we eat, but we also eat a lot of Thai food and Ethiopian food and other things that give us a lot of variety. So I'm going to grab my cilantro.
Just want to show the book again in case anybody tuned in late. Healthy Heart, Healthy Planet. I'll post a link to where you can get it on Amazon. And I've earmarked a few recipes I want to try that look really good to me. Cauliflower curry was one of them. One of them was the Indian beet burgers. And one of them was something called sambar potato bhaji.
Yes. So potato bhaji, you can think of that as another kind of potato salad, hot in this case instead of a cold one. Potato bhaji in itself, not the sambar one, is a very, very simple dish with just like mustard seeds and some coriander leaves or cilantro leaves. Sorry, my mother-in-law always says coriander leaves. And and turmeric and green bell peppers. The sambar actually uses the sambar masala. And sambar masala is spicy, and we use and a lot of lemon, so it's kind of sour and spicy. It's a really nice dish. So there's this half bunch of cilantro. Then I'm going to take, so this is what makes it. Wash my hands off here a little bit. Here's where all the flavor is. This is called Chaat masala. Again, I'm not an experienced chef, just a kitchen chef. My understanding with masala is it's just like curry, it's a combination of spices. So there's all different kinds of masala. So if you want the right masala, you want the one that's called the Chaat masala. Now I am going to add a tablespoon of this. It's pretty spicy. Sprinkle that in. And then here's the other piece, and this is where we get all the nice sweet and sour. This is tamarind date chutney. And usually find it in the refrigerated aisle in the Indian store. Or for me, like lately, I haven't even been to the Indian store. I've been ordering most of my stuff online since it's so hard to get everything. So this is about a cup.
You have a recipe for chutney right here in your book, a mint chutney.
Yeah. Oh, the mint chutney is fabulous. I love mint chutney. It's funny too, because I don't know what it is, but mint grows like a weed. And the last couple of homes my husband and I have had, we get all this mint. It just grows up between sidewalks and things. And we have a garden in our side yard here. And the mint, we don't do anything. It just keeps popping up. And so I actually, well, speaking of batch cooking, the last time I made mint chutney, I harvested a ton of it, a ton of mint, and made several cups of the mint chutney, and I froze 1 cup each into little Ziploc baggies and put it in the freezer for future use. And that's great with the plain potato bhaji.
Jill wants to know where you get the chaat masala and chutney online.
I ordered it from, well, this I didn't order online yet, so I'll have to get back to you. I don't know where to get this online. I haven't searched for it yet, but I got this from Amazon.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So I know it's kind of hard to see, but it doesn't look the greatest, I guess. The one thing I will mention about the solar cooker, so I was using red potatoes. It does kind of kill the color because you're cooking it. It's just like putting something in a crock pot, right? You're going to cook it over a long time, kind of kills the color. But that's it. That is it. So the way they serve this, normally in India, there's like I don't even know what it's called. It's this fried topping that's very crunchy. But I don't know exactly what it is. But of course, we don't eat fried food in this house. So we use Rice Krispies to sprinkle on the top, maybe a quarter cup, just to give that little extra crunch. But you would not mix it in right now, right? It would just get a soggy, mushy mess. So you would just sprinkle them on top when you serve it. That's it. That's the first dish. Pretty simple.
Hold it up a little closer to the camera so we can see it.
Yeah, let's see. How's that? Kind of a mess.
It looks good
delicious.
to me.
It's delicious. All right, I'm going to set this to the side and we'll start the next one. So the next one is a sushi salad. I'm going to get this mango stuff out of the way here really quickly. So this is the sushi salad is my answer to sushi because it takes a long time to roll sushi. And I don't have that kind of time. So let me rinse this off really quickly too. There we go. And this idea came from one of my mother-in-law's friends. And she says, oh, I don't have time to make sushi. I just put it all in a bowl and have a sushi salad. So I tried it and it was fabulous and super, super easy. So again, as long as you have the rice cooked in advance, this goes together very quickly. So I've got 6 cups of brown rice here that I cooked in the solar cooker. So I'm just going to dump this in here.
Do you have a favorite?
Easily.
Do you have a favorite rice?
Yeah, so we have a Japanese grocery store here in Sacramento, and they sell nishiki brown rice, and it's a short-grained brown rice, and it's here in California. And the nice thing about it being grown in California, from my understanding, is there's less mercury to worry about. And it's great. It gets nice and sticky, which is what you want for something like this. All right, so let's see. I am basically going to add a bunch of the rest of this stuff in whatever random order I guess I decide to do. So I'm going to chop up some cucumbers, and I got English cucumbers because I like the green color, and the skin is so nice and thin and easy to eat that you don't have to peel it. But I will seed it. So just take my knife and just gently run it along the inside there to get rid of some of those seeds. Although, frankly, I don't find the seeds in the English cucumber very bitter at all. So you don't have to do this.
Nadej wants to know, are you able to find tamarind paste or syrup without any sugar in it?
Oh, I have not looked. Oh, well, no, I'm sorry. So just tamarind paste or tamarind concentrate, yes. So that's different than the chutney. So if you just want tamarind concentrate, that doesn't have sugar. I haven't seen one with sugar in it, but maybe I'm not looking closely enough. I should double check. But I've only seen it with the actual chutney, which is quite sweet.
Tamarind's a pod, right?
Yeah, and I've never used whole tamarind. I have only used the concentrate or having it already prepared as a chutney. And it's very sour, but it's different than lemon. It's just delicious. And it really makes something like sambar pop, and it's just a great taste.
What is Raj's favorite meal that you make?
Oh my goodness, that's a great question. I don't know what he eats just about anything. He's probably one of the easiest people. I mean, other than the fact that we changed our diet to live healthier, you know, he's pretty easy when it comes to eating. He loves Indian food, though. You know, one of his favorite things is idlis with sambar, and something I will never make, so his mom has to do it. To make idlis and really to truly make them from scratch, it's a lot of work. My sister-in-law has this machine that is basically like couple of rocks that work together to grind the rice and the lentils to make a slurry. And I would say the consistency of the slurry is kind of like cream of wheat, right? So it's the pieces of the rice and the pieces of the lentils become small, like semolina, like cream of wheat. And then it ferments for, I don't know, a couple of days, and then it will rise a little bit, and you pour it into these trays that are maybe a couple of inches in diameter, and the trays stack one on top of another. Sometimes you have 3 or 4 places to make the idlis in these trays, and then you steam it. So hopefully I'm emphasizing how much work it is to make these idlis. And not using oil, they will stick to the pans, and so require a lot of work getting them out. And but doing that and then topping it with the sambar, which is a very spicy dal that usually will have a whole host of vegetables in it, like okra and onion and maybe carrots and things. He loves that. That's probably his favorite food. And sorry, I don't actually make it for him because that would take days and days, and I just won't do it.
Oh my gosh. Does he ever do the cooking?
He does. And you know, this is funny because when we first met, and for the first, 10 years of marriage, he really didn't cook at all. He used to joke that when he was in college, he made a chicken curry and it took days and, you know, like 6 hours or something like that. And all of his friends were sitting around waiting for him to finish his meal and cooking it for them. And everyone was starving by the time he finally finished. And then several years ago, he did an online plant-based cooking school. And now he's actually a pretty good cook. And my favorite dish that Raj makes, and the problem is he'll probably never make it for me. It's the same thing. One of his assignments was to make manicotti. And the manicotti, he had to make the noodles from scratch. He had to make the faux ricotta out of tofu from scratch. He had to make the sauce from scratch and seed all the tomatoes and everything. It took him 3 days because he would do one part and then take a break, another part and take a break. But I will tell you, it was fabulous. And he will never spend the time to make that for me either. It just took too long. All right, so I'm gonna add some carrots. Now I don't think I put carrots in the recipe that I sent you, Chef AJ, but I decided I wanted more color. So and I had them in the refrigerator, so I decided I'm just gonna add them. And yeah, I'm using baby carrots because they're already peeled and they're ready to go, except for just a little bit of chopping. So yeah, that's one of my shortcuts.
I think shortcuts are great.
Well, they do help save a lot of time, for sure. One thing that we started doing now that the boys are home, everyone's home, is trying to get them in the kitchen to start cooking. And so even if they don't like the food, I'm still making them stand over the stove, do some sauteing or whatever it is to at least learn the basics. And again, getting a little bit of pushback from the kids, but they're learning and it's not too horrible. But hopefully when they go to college, they'll be a little more well-versed than, let's say, their dad was, or I was. I burnt water once. So yeah, I've come a long way too. All right, next we're gonna add some edamame. And like I said, starch, so our rice, here's our legumes, here's our beans, right? Same idea with the chaat. It's just, in my opinion, it should be a complete meal. So there's my shortcut. I just opened a couple packages of thawed out edamame.
Francie Sue wants to know if you can dance Bollywood style.
Oh, no, not exactly. But I don't know if any of your viewers have a Wii. There is a game that my sister-in-law gave me called Just Dance. And Just Dance has some Bollywood on it seems like each Just Dance game that we've gotten has had some Bollywood song on it with a Bollywood dance. And so I have to say, I'm pretty good at those, following on the video games. All right, so what's next? This is pickled daikon or takuan. And I thought they would have it at my local grocery store because they normally do. We have a lot of Asians who live in our neighborhood. It's a very diverse neighborhood. I can usually get just about anything just at my local market. But unfortunately, they didn't have any. And I went on Wednesday. So my other option was I could go stand in line at the Japanese market that I mentioned earlier where I get my rice. But every time I go there lately, because of COVID, there's a line out the door, and it would have taken about 2 hours for me to finally get into the market. So I went online and I found a recipe, and it's super simple. It's essentially daikon, radish, those nice long ones. You just peel it, chop it up, use some seasoned rice vinegar and turmeric, and let it sit. So it actually should get an even brighter color than what I have here, because I've only been letting it sit for a couple of days, but can you see that? I'm not sure. Maybe I can bring it a little closer. It's a little yellow from the turmeric. And it's a little stinky, but it's really delicious. I promise. So
do you have to make every single meal for all 3 guys in your family, breakfast, lunch, and dinner?
There, that's kind of what it looks like. Let's see. No. And I have to say, I'm glad my kids are the age they are right now with this whole COVID crisis, because we're all home. I have to start work very early in the morning. And I know they won't starve. The boys can come down and make some oatmeal for themselves, or pop some waffles in the toaster, or, thaw out some of that soy sausage or whatever. They won't starve. So I'm lucky in that regard. And they all will make their own lunches too, although my mother-in-law has taken some pity on the children and is making their lunch. But I usually have the kids, even when they're in school, pack their own lunch. So they're big enough, they can do it. All right, so this is some pickled ginger. Again, something that I was hoping to buy at the market they didn't have. And again, very simple. I just used my mandolin to slice it up and then put it in some rice vinegar. So I measured out about a half cup here, and I'm just gonna dice it up a little bit more and mix that in. So between the the dakon's not that spicy, but it's a little spicy. You get a lot of, and then you get the ginger, and you get the vinegar and the sugar and the salt. And so I'm just gonna top all that off. Oh no, I forgot. Not in the recipe either, but I had a purple cabbage, or I guess they call it red cabbage, in my refrigerator, and I thought that will add a lot of nice color. So I'm just gonna put a little in there. I'm gonna chop up a little bit of this before I finally finish and mix it all up. So quickly chop this up and toss it in there.
Do you guys have time to exercise with your busy schedules?
So this is my COVID-19 silver lining. I don't have to drive the kids to school right now. I don't have to drive them to water polo practice or piano practice or anything else like that right now. So unlike my friends who posted all these memes about people getting fat to the point where they couldn't even exit their house, I actually took advantage of the fact that I'm not traveling all the time. So I generally have a bit of travel with my work. And I've been exercising significantly more, and I've lost 9 pounds since I've been home. So I'm so happy I'm kind of back to my weight I was. Even when Raj and I met, I was heavier. So it's been great getting all this extra exercise in. And then Callister, my older son, one of his teachers said, hey, you guys aren't doing anything this summer anyway. How about getting a little extra PE credit and train for a half marathon? So he and I started running together too. So that's been fabulous.
That's so cool. Do you guys watch any shows together as a family, like maybe Indian Matchmaker?
Oh, no, but oh gosh, I will tell you all, there is a great movie. And Callister is the one who actually got us to watch it. It's called Three Idiots. It's a Hindi movie. It's all Bollywood. It is fabulous. It's fabulous. Everyone should watch that movie. It is cute. It's adorable. It's a feel-good movie. And I thought, I'm
is it on
watching a
Netflix?
movie called-
Is it on Netflix?
It was.
Okay.
I don't know if it still is, but it was. And we all watched it as a family, and I was totally against it because I was like, I'm not watching a show called Three Idiots.
I'll check
But
it
he
right
talked
now to
us
see
into
if I
it.
can find it. Linda says, Linda's asking, what do you do for work?
Oh, so I'm a pharmacist by training. I also have a business background. I'm also certified as like a geriatric and pharmacotherapy specialist in pharmacy, but I don't actually see patients anymore. I am an executive at a Fortune 42 company, and I oversee our clinical programs to help patients take their medications the way they're supposed to and try to get the most out of the medications that they're on. So that's what I do. I have a desk job. Okay, I'm going to bring this a little bit closer. This one looks a little bit nicer than the Chaat, right? Lots of color there.
Gorgeous.
So,
able to influence any of your coworkers to eat a healthier diet?
not necessarily. I'm not a very preachy person. If people ask me about it, for sure, I will tell them about it. One thing that I have done recently because of all this extra time is in the mornings, a bunch of my coworkers and friends get together at 6:45 in the morning, and I either teach the yoga class or I teach like a circuit training class. So I'm working on my yoga certification. I'm also a personal trainer just for fun.
Nice. Well, the food looks amazing, and it didn't take very long to prepare.
No, in my mind, that's a couple of meals with leftovers for a couple of days, and it took 40 minutes, so maybe 20 each. Not counting just washing the vegetables in advance like I did, but otherwise, yeah, super quick, right? You can make this when you get home easily.
That's amazing. Let's see. She's Voracious Vegan says that she's got some great looking guns there. What kind of workout is she doing?
It's the yoga. I swear. Well, okay. I'm sure I'm building on previous exercise that I did when I was a kid. So I swam on a recreational swim team for 10 years. And then I coached it for a few when I was in college, and that was a lot of fun. So I'm sure some of my guns are from my days of swimming, but I would say most of it has just been from keeping up with my yoga lately. I do, a lot. I've been doing it almost every day since we got the stay-at-home order back in March. And so that's been a lot of help. And I think consistency is key.
Yeah. Well, I know that Raj mentioned he is a yoga teacher. Do you ever take his class?
I do. And he's taken mine too. So I'm learning. I don't have my 200-hour certification yet. I'm in the process, and I should have it by September. But yeah, he's taken mine and I've taken his, and we both teach very differently. And I think we've both learned patience with one another. I definitely like more of a power yoga, vinyasa flow kind of class. And he likes restorative, and that's great. And I love restorative too. And we were both reading something last night saying we both need to do more restorative yoga, which my friends and I joke, restorative yoga is like a group nap, right? You go to the yoga studio and everyone just lies there and supported, and you kind of just slowly let your body open up. It's wonderful though.
Yeah, I love the gentle, the yin, and the restorative.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. This has been amazing. So guys, please check out this wonderful book with wonderful recipes. Healthy Heart, Healthy Planet website of the same name. The recipes from today are in the show notes. Sonia wanted to know what the liquid that you poured on the salad was. That was rice vinegar.
Oh my goodness,
right?
I shouldn't have said it was seasoned rice vinegar. Now, if you don't want the sugar, you don't have to use seasoned rice vinegar. You can just use regular rice vinegar. It's obviously going to have a different taste, right? You won't have the sweetness with it. But if there's something else you wanted to use, if you wanted like honey or agave nectar or something else, right, you could always substitute that, or even cut the amount of sugar by doing it yourself. Yep. Thank you for calling that out.
Well, I did look on Netflix, and Three Idiots is on there. So that's going to be my movie this week. I learned so much from doing this show. It looks great. It looks like a great movie.
All right.
And people are commenting how beautiful your plants are. So very beautiful kitchen. Nice.
Yes, we can all thank my mother-in-law for helping keep those alive and watering them when she comes over, because I'm horrible at that. Horrible.
So there's been a discussion in the chat. You said something about rice, but you said arsenic, not mercury, right? Or did you say mercury?
Oh, I think I said mercury, but is it arsenic that we're supposed to worry about? Honestly, I never remember. I just know buy California rice.
Right. Yeah, that's what Dr. Goldhammer says. Lundberg, he recommends. Dina wants to know if you eat tofu.
Oh, yes, I do. So I guess tofu is somewhat processed, but yes, I love tofu. And I will say that is one thing that my son Callister will eat when we'll use it in a lot of different things. So we'll use it, as I mentioned, when Raj made his manicotti. We won't actually do the manicotti from scratch the way he did in his cooking class, but we use that same faux ricotta recipe that he has, and it's got stuff like it's very simple. It's just got some nutmeg and some lemon zest and maybe a little bit of salt. I can't even remember. It's a very simple recipe. And then we'll use it to make a vegetarian lasagna, because that's super easy, right? Noodles, sauce, then the tofu filling, noodle sauce, tofu filling, noodle sauce, and you're done. You put it in the oven. So yeah, we'll eat tofu like that. So kind of as a substitute, or we'll just use it in our pho. If we make pho, I'm able to find a vegan pho broth with no oil that's just ready to go. And that makes, dinner in about 15 minutes. Just throw in some vegetables and tofu and noodles and you're done.
Very nice. Jennifer wants to know if you have an air fryer.
I do. I love my air fryer. And we bought the air fryer before we moved into this house. And the oven that we have now is a convection oven, which acts like an air fryer, right? And so I was using it to make French fries for us, which is great. But now we all like those air fried French fries. And so Raj will end up making a whole cookie sheet of them for lunch in the oven when it's not 110 degrees.
Oh, people are reminding you they want to see the solar cooker, because a lot of us have never heard of that.
Give me 2 seconds.
Take your time. Hey, everybody. Chef AJ here. How y'all doing? Thank you so much for being here. I'm doing a second show today, but not really. Dr. Vera Tarman wants to interview me at 2 p.m. Pacific time, but she said to do it on my channel. So if you're free in a couple hours, come on back and we'll see what that's about. I'll be on the other side of the camera, if you will. Hey, Kenny, how you doing? I don't think the manicotti recipe is in this book. Is that correct, Kathy?
It is not. It was from the cooking class that Raj did. And I don't have it. I would have to have him look it up for us. But maybe we can get it to you.
Or maybe he'll come back and make it.
That would be fabulous. Okay, here is my solar cooker. Looks pretty simple, right? So first of all, these did not come with it. These are little terracotta warmers that I bought them at Cost Plus or something like that. You can warm them up and then stick them in a bread basket. That's what they're meant for, to keep your bread warm. But I use them as little heat sinks. This is the actual cardboard. So you unfold it. And it's funny, when you contacted me, Chef AJ, I was thinking I would just, cook everything on the show. And then it was so darn hot, right? All these triple digit heats. And I thought, I don't want to cook in the kitchen. So you basically got these little slots here.
Gosh, I have never seen anything like that or heard of it. Where have I been? Nobody's ever told me about one of these. Has any of you guys watching heard of a solar cooker? I have not.
There are a ton of different models. So can you see that? So it's basically all reflective on the inside. And then, and I'll tell you, this is another story about my parents. My brother, for a science project one year when he was in grade school, built one out of boxes and newspaper. So this is my Dutch oven. Basically just sits inside like this. And then these little things go underneath. But I didn't grab the bag, so I'm going to show you the bag too.
And so you just put this outside?
Mm-hmm. I just put it outside. and I make sure that it can see the sun all day. Now, I will tell you, it is possible to overcook in this, just like you could if you left something in your crock pot all day long. So we take this cooking bag and we just put it over the Dutch oven, like so. And we just close it up with some clothespins. You just let it sit there all day.
You're blowing my mind. I mean, here, I live in the desert though. Would it not be too hot for that? Because it's always triple digits.
No, people do it all the time. And there's a lot of different kinds. There's box cookers, there's parabolic cookers. This one is super cheap and simple. And you can buy them online if you don't want to make them yourself. And you could just test it out. But remember, it's like cooking something in a crock pot because it's slow. It doesn't really get very hot in there, probably 225, 250 degrees, something like that. So you're cooking something over a very long period of time. And there are a lot of different, I think I have one somewhere. I've used a slow cooker cookbook, but I think I also have a solar cooker. Yeah. I have a little solar cooker cookbook too.
I wonder what the nutritionals are like. I mean, is it healthier because the sun has vitamin D or?
I don't think that's the case. Is it less likely to destroy the vitamins though, because you haven't cooked it to such a high temperature? That I haven't looked that up. I should. Oh, you know what? I forgot something in the sushi salad that actually makes it taste like sushi salad.
Yeah, I was wondering the nori, right?
The nori, exactly. Yeah. I'm looking at it right here.
Wow, this is crazy that all these people have heard of this, either for RVing or camping or in their hippie days. I never heard of that. And people are asking for a show on that, but wouldn't it kind of have to be a really long show though? Because it's not going to be ready in a few minutes.
It's exactly right. It's why I did it in advance. So the only secret I'm going to tell you here is to rip it up one sheet at a time and sprinkle it in and then stir it. Otherwise, you're going to get a big fat glob of nori, right? So mix it up a little and just mix it in a little bit at a time. And it's so funny because I'm usually not the kind of person that says, do something the hard way. Do it as fast as you can. But this one, you just want to do it a little bit more slowly.
Kenny wants to know why the bag is needed for the solar cooker.
I think it holds the heat in and keeps it a little bit warmer in there, but that's what's recommended. I've actually tried it without, does not work. And I've also inadvertently not sealed it well enough with a little clothespin and it didn't work. So it's necessary.
Tiffany loves your big bowl and wants to know where you got it.
They were wedding gifts from one of my dad's associate's wife. So my dad was a dentist in a small town in the Central Valley on the Delta here between Sacramento and San Francisco, where I grew up, small town called Rio Vista. And his associate's wife was a gourmet cook, and she got me some great stuff when I got married.
Where did you first hear of a solar cooker?
So my mom knew about it, and she's the one who got my brother to make it in a science project, and it actually worked. They actually built one that worked. In Jimmy's design, they used a bigger box and a smaller box. They lined the smaller box with aluminum foil. They used newspaper to insulate the big box from the smaller box. And they put a little piece of glass on the top, and then on the very top flap of the box, they lined that with aluminum foil as well. And they would just aim the box so that the sun would hit the flap and shine the light down into the box. And the same idea with the black Dutch oven on the inside to collect all that heat.
Well, if the power ever goes out here, that's a great option.
It is.
And people know about these from Girl Scout days. It's funny how you just really learn something new every day.
Oh yeah. The more you learn, the more you realize how much you actually don't know.
Yeah. People love your, well, it's not really your set, it's your home kitchen, but they love your
It's
lights
my
and your
home kitchen.
plants. It's a beautiful set.
Thank you. I wish I could actually take credit for it. It was this way when we bought the house.
Mhm. Jennifer says that daikon radish is hard to find where she lives. Could pickled onions be
Oh,
a good replacement?
yeah, I don't see why not. Because you still get a little bit of the spice from the onion that you wouldn't have, that you kind of get from the daikon. Um, the pickled radish does have some sugar in it though. So if your pickled onion doesn't have sugar in it, that may be something you'd want to add if you want the sweetness.
And Tiffany says, what is your favorite meal to prepare? We know it's not the one that's Raj's favorite.
My favorite meal to prepare. Do I have a favorite? I don't know. I eat a lot of different kinds of food. I think my favorite meal to prepare is the one Raj does when I don't have to cook. I honestly, I cook because we need to eat and we need to eat healthy food, but I am not the person who is like, oh, my day off, I can't wait to cook something new. I'm like, let's go paddleboarding, let's go mountain biking, let's go do something fun. It's not necessarily in the kitchen.
Yeah.
Isn't
Well,
that
that's a
funny?
great answer. My favorite meal is the one that some other chef is making. Exactly. Do you have a favorite
Perfect.
recipe in your book by any chance?
Yes, I made it. It's the chaat. I love chaat, and it is a little calorically dense. So when I'm watching my weight, right, I don't eat a whole lot of it, but that it's sweet, it's sour, it's salty, kind of gives you that comfort food of potatoes, right? And it's real hearty. And it on a day like what we're having lately in the summer with such intense heat, it's great. It's cooling. So yeah, that is absolutely one of my favorites.
But in the book, you used melon instead of mango.
I did. And I did that because I wanted something to be a little more accessible for people because sometimes mangoes are hard to find in the market. But mango is a little more traditional. Frankly, you can use anything. Apples are great, peaches, honestly, whatever you have on hand. I haven't ever tried it with berries, but, and I usually try to stick with same color just because it's already the tamarind date chutney kind of takes a lot of the fun away because it coats everything that brownish color. But and maybe that's why it's considered street food because it's easy and it's quick. I don't know.
Doris wanted to know what kind of nori you were using.
It's whatever I found at the Japanese market. So it's called Sushi Hane, but it's basically just roasted seaweed. It doesn't have anything else in it except for seaweed.
Nice. And Dina wants to know if you and Raj eat dark chocolate once in a while.
Raj, okay, I will for sure. I'm the sweet tooth of the family. Raj will not eat a piece of dark chocolate because it's got cocoa butter in it, right? And he won't have the fat. But he will make himself something with cocoa powder, like dark cocoa powder and what do you call it? Honey and some fruit. So what he'll do is he'll add just maybe a little bit of water and honey to the dark cocoa powder and mix it up and then cut up some bananas or whatever other fruit that we might have in the house and have that. That's his ice cream.
Nice. Did he tell you about the time that I spoke at a conference he was also speaking at and he didn't have any food and I shared my food with him, which I don't normally do, by
Aww.
the way.
And I will tell you, so Raj is much better about sticking with, that was very sweet, by the way, and I'm not surprised.
If you knew me, no,
night,
but you should be surprised because my friend Shada's not watching, but people that really know me know that I don't share because I need a lot of food. And but it was him and he was hungry.
Oh, that's so sweet. No, Raj, he will actually, when we go out, and this is where he's really good at sticking with his diet, and I'm not. He will eat steamed rice and vegetables and be totally happy with that. And I just look at it and go, but if I'm going to put it in my body, I really want to enjoy it. I want the flavor. And so I will stray and he will not. He's really amazing that way. His willpower is much, much stronger than mine.
Well, but also he did have a heart attack. And I think that makes a big difference.
Yeah.
Well, I'm so glad he recovered and changed his life and your life, and you're helping so many people now with your wonderful book. Do you ever teach classes anywhere?
No, it's crazy. I'm so busy. I'm so busy. The thought is, I would love to do that when I retire. So I think Raj and I, we have this favorite retirement job. We'll maybe go, teaching yoga here and there and healthy living and plant-based meals, and see if anyone's willing to come join us.
Absolutely. Maybe you could have retreats. You're up near Linda Middlesworth. She loves to produce things. Maybe you guys can have these little retreats.
Absolutely.
I think it'd be amazing. Well, this has just been wonderful. Thank you so much, Cathi. I'd love to have you guys back as yoga teachers, or have Raj do his manicotti if it fits within your schedule. And maybe we can have the boys on, and maybe I can beat some sense into them.
Oh, would you?
I would love to. What we have to do is find a couple of 13 and 15-year-old hot vegan girls that'll change their mind.
That would do it.
Absolutely. Well, this has been great. So guys, the recipes are in the show notes. If you want more of Cathi's delicious recipes, check out this wonderful book, Healthy Heart, Healthy Planet. They've got a blog by the same name, which you can subscribe to. And thank all of you guys for watching another episode of Chef AJ Live. I'll be back at 2 p.m. today, actually being interviewed by one of my favorite doctors, Dr. Vera Tarman. So if you're available, check it out. Thanks again, Cathi. It was so great getting to talk to you.
Got it. Thanks, everyone.